think because I've always wondered what's going to happen when this system crashes to our electricity, city water, and stuff like that. How is that going to
Oh,
run?
that I don't worry about. Now we got to go back here a little bit here, and I'll tell you why. I There could be isolated incidents where the electricity goes off, maybe in St. Louis or Chicago or something, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. The reason is I think the basic infrastructure will be running at that time. That's not going to be a problem because the counties will make sure that it is running because you don't want people rioting in the street, okay, and tearing everything apart. You don't want that. And plus, remember when Satan gets here, he wants to make sure that everybody knows who he is and that he's here. So you want to keep things intact. So I think they're going to do an outstanding job of keeping things intact during this time. I don't worry about the electricity going off because if Satan shows up in Jerusalem and nobody has any electricity worldwide, how are they going to know that he's here? You know?
Very good point. Very good. He's definitely going to make a grand entrance.
Yes. If you're going all Mad Max at that time, who's going to know? Okay, that's just not going to work.
You're exactly right. You're right. And so our internet's probably going to remain because it, like the Bible says, it'll come through your rooftops. Well, what's on your rooftop? Antennas, your TV, your internet.
Your TV antennas.
Right. He's going to want to be seen by the whole world. He's that conceited.
Oh, of course. You see, so once you know these kind of things, like I say, that's how I backward engineer all this stuff. Reverse engineer all this stuff because if you know that, then you know, well, gee, electricity needs to be on. Oh, you want people to be able to text each other. You want people to be able to go on YouTube and watch it. You want people to be able to see it on their phone, everywhere. I mean, we've got all the infrastructure necessary for that grand entrance right now.
I feel, and I'm not saying today, tomorrow, next month, but I feel that he's at the door knocking.
Oh, I do too. And, the strong speculation for a lot of people is, and I kind of go along with this myself, is that 5-month season is going to start around the end of April and go till the end of September. That's what the speculation for most people is. And I can agree with that. I think that's a decent idea. But then Pastor Murray's also pointed out that don't be surprised if it changes a little bit. Maybe things happen in January rather than April or in July instead of, another time. So there's a lot of little variations that could play out.
Right, and that's where it confuses me because there's a study, and now why can't I remember the name? Oh, I don't know, but Pastor Murray talks about the message came 6 days before true Passover, the true Passover, and 5 days before Passover, Lucifer was kicked out onto earth, which starts the tribulation, and then he comes from the earth, and why he comes from the earth is because he was already here. But he was behind the scenes.
Right.
But he was talking about 5 days before Passover. And I'm thinking, okay, but then like you said, he also says, but don't get caught off guard because it could happen at any time. So it's confusing. Like, okay, well, if it's not going to be that and it could be any time, then you're like, well, everything's kind of coming to a head here to where it feels like he's coming. It feels like it's nigh.
Whenever I talk to Jeff, I mean, we like I said, we talk a couple times a week, and we talk about that. Like, there's just so much going on. I mean, sometimes we'll talk on a Friday and then talk again on a Monday, and we've had three months worth of news in a couple of days, because so many things keep happening back to back.
Right,
it's incredible to see what's really going on. Yeah. And a lot of times we talk for a couple hours and we go over a lot of fine-tuned things. We kind of parse a lot of the financial videos that we watch, and we parse them and kind of see what people are talking about. Sometimes we watch videos that are kind of lame, and we just kind of like, well, that wasn't worth much. And then sometimes we'll watch a video, and there's just 2 sentences in there that just light us up, that we know, like, oh, that's important right there. And so it's a difficult thing to do. It's a lot of boring stuff to listen to. And especially when they get really deep into some of these financial things like derivatives and that's a whole new animal. That's just, that's, I'm not even an expert in that. And I hear people talking about it and explaining it. I try to learn and try to be as good as I can on all this stuff, but there's a lot happening, and I agree with you that it just feels like it's in the air. Like you just feel something is going to happen and happen very, very soon.
Right, and day by day, it's going faster and faster and faster.
Yes, I mean, even at your age, you can tell that news stories when you were 18, 19 years old, they had a hard time putting together a top 10 news stories of the year. Well, you can
Right.
almost get the top 10 news stories in the year in about 1 week now. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, the speed of things, and that's what Jeff and I comment on all the time, is just how fast everything is happening. Flooding everywhere, earthquakes everywhere. Everything is just fever pitch everywhere you look.
It's those labor pains are coming to delivery.
Yeah, that's what it is. They get faster and faster, and that's how it works. And so, it's there's a lot to watch out for, but that's why it's nice to talk to each other about some of these things so we can kind of fill in the blanks a little bit here and there with each other, and I think kind of get everybody on track here because there is so much to do.
Exactly. And just like I was saying earlier, we all kind of have our own zones about what we like. Me, I love end time prophecy. Daniel in Revelations gets my blood just pumping, and I want to focus on looking
Yeah,
for Lucifer, but only in that sense. And you're so wonderful with financials, and boy, you just get it together, and you're like, bam, bam, and look at this. I'm like, holy crap, I don't understand, And so when it all comes
yeah,
together and we iron sharpens iron, we figure out what the real story is because it's all coming together.
right. It is, and I mean that's why we have our different things. And I think sometimes too, you know, Jeff and I have a lot of people following us on Facebook, and we try to get out the word on all these things. Now, some people maybe pay attention to them, some people don't, but we do get a lot of nice compliments on the work that we and olive branches. Yeah, I like your comments there. They're very nice and very very. I want to thank you for saying all those nice things there. And we get a lot of favorable comments on these things, and people are really looking at what we're doing, and they want us to post a lot of stuff so we can keep them informed on what's going on because it changes so rapidly.
Right, and you guys are very very good at it. The only thing I think that people have trouble with because we're not where you guys are, it's just hard for us to grasp onto so quickly. It takes me sometimes a couple times to be like, "Wait, what?" Okay, because that's not my specialty. But I mean, what an
Right.
awesome job, and I'm proud of you guys.
Oh, thank you very much. This is what we try to do. We try to play our role as well as we can, and try to inform other people that hey, time to get prepared, get this stuff going. I mean, yeah, I was having a conversation with a neighbor the other day, and I was I was telling her that I follow a lot of financial information, a lot of politics, and other just kind of current trends of other things that are going on too, like pop culture type things. And uh, she asked me the question, why do you do that? Like, why are you wasting your time? Why are you wasting your time doing that? I said, because it's everything. That's what it is. It's everything.
Right.
Knowing this stuff and being able to prepare ahead of time so you know what's going to happen just makes a world of difference as far as how well you're going to be able to go through this tough time. You know, I mean, you got to put in your effort. I look at like you say about you were telling about some people that said, well, God's going to provide and all this kind of stuff. I look at it as the one, 5 and 10 talent man parable. That's what I look at. The people that were prepared and did well. Look what happened to them. You see, they did something, and I think you have to put in a certain amount of effort, and I think you get rewarded for that afterwards.
I agree, and I think that is one of the most important things we can do right now is just prepare as much as possible. And I do think that God, like He says, He will put us under His wing, but He also likes a doer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm always kind of tweaking things and looking at my inventories and making sure I got what I need, and try to buy things when they're at prices that I know I can afford, and try to make it work. So that's what I try to do.
Well, I
And
think
it's not
that's
rocket science.
no, it's not, but I think a lot of us need to focus more on just making sure we have our medications, our essentials, personal items, food storage. I don't care if I have to eat oatmeal for a month. Oatmeal stores very well. So do canned
Oh,
items.
it does. Yeah, so does rice, so do ramen noodles. All these things are really cheap. I bought a 25-pound bag of rice at Sam's Club a while back for $9, like
Wow.
$8.95 or something. 25 pounds. And do you know how many meals that is?
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what my basis is like, well, people say I can't afford to prep. Well, rice isn't expensive, oatmeal isn't expensive, top ramen isn't expensive, and if that's all you have to eat for, it's not going to be that long, then at least you're eating.
No, at least you're eating. I mean, it's nice if you can throw some meat in there too and do that. That's why some of these uh, membership clubs like Costco and that can be a big advantage. And people say, well, I don't need that much. Yeah, you do. At this point, you do. This is a good time to get some of that stuff.
Right.
Um,
Time
for
is
instance,
running
like they have
short.
time's running short. For instance, like at Costco right now, they have chicken legs, and they come in these little five chicken legs in a little vacuum sealed package, and it's like a 6 pack of these all together. Well, you can just cut these up into individual packages, and now you've got 5 drumsticks ready to go that you can just take out and then cook them at that time, and you've got them to go. They're already pre-packaged just perfectly for you, and they're 79 cents a pound. So I mean, it's affordable stuff, and you can have a little bit more to eat at that time. So you
Right.
don't need to spend a fortune. A couple $100 can do an awful lot of good for you.
I agree, and that's definitely something, I'm going to add to my stash and just to make sure I have. One of the most important things I think also is some apple cider vinegar because it helps get rid of infections. You can put it on cuts, you can drink it, you can do so much with apple cider vinegar that can be life-saving.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's
And
a lot of little known things like that. That's what people used years and years ago. A lot of these things aren't anything new. People have used them for a long time. It's just that we kind of got away from using all those things.
right. And I have a lot of teas and stuff like that, herbal stuff, because I think that medication, which is hard to get without a doctor's note, so I'm trying to stock up on things that I knew they used before that can heal wounds and cuts and scrapes and colds and all this stuff because herbs, where do people think that medication was derived from? It was from your herbals. Yes, they added chemicals and yes, they changed stuff, but your herbs still can heal. And I think it's important that you have Tylenol, you have heartburn stuff, you have, all these little things that you can go grab. Get some bleach, you may need it. Go get some
Oh yeah.
alcohol rub, and hell, grab some vodka and put it up there. That's all. That's a good cleaner too.
Yeah.
And a shot if you need it.
I prefer whiskey myself.
That'll work.
That'll work. Yeah, that's for sure.
But I was just wondering if at any point you both would like to come on here and kind of educate people on this financial stuff and maybe preparing. I mean, you have such wonderful things to share. I bet that would be a really awesome show.
Well, yeah, I'll let Jeff know. He works days all the time, and so late at night he's zonked out. So he's working days, and if we could do something that was a little bit earlier in the day, I think that would work out better for him. For me,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more flexible.
It totally
A little
works
more
out
fun.
for me whenever you if you can arrange that, let me know what time you guys want and we can do this cuz I think this is very important and I would absolutely love it. I know Olive Branch would be really excited about that and I think it'd be something that everybody needs to hear.
Yeah, I mean, you're out on the West Coast, right?
Correct.
Okay. He's on the Central Time Zone, so he's 2 hours ahead right now. And so it's a little bit trickier for him. So we'd have to do it earlier in the day or even in the afternoon would be great. West Coast time, like from, let's say, maybe 1 to 3, 2 to 4, something like that would probably work out great for him too.
That would be great for me. Just let me know when you guys can because the information that you gave tonight is a true blessing and I think you are very intelligent and I really enjoyed hearing all this and I want to share this with people and we can also set up something possibly Olive Branch and her brother's very smart and has a lot of biblical knowledge and I think that maybe we could really get down to some, what do they say, brass tacks? Or is that what the
Yeah,
saying is?
yeah, something like that. Yes, that's what it is. And yeah, I'm sure Jeff would probably be up for that and be kind of interesting to do something like that. We want to help out people and try to get the word out. And it sounds like you're doing a lot of things right from what I'm hearing. You're preparing and you got a lot of ways of knowing like the herbal stuff and that's probably a little bit above me. Believe it or not, that's a little bit above me. But I do understand that there's a lot of things that you can put together if you know what you're doing that can
Right.
be good.
Well, and I live out, in the rural area, and in Washington, we have, which I've been studying for a couple years, a lot of natural things that you can go grab out in the forest that grows here naturally that you can eat, that you can drink, how to get water out of trees if you don't have any water, how you can actually have a tree give you its water, stinging nettles, which is great tea, dandelions. There's so much in the forest here that you can really live off of. And it can heal you at the same time.
Well,
And
yeah, you got a lot of great forest area there. You got a lot of rain. It's a jungle up there.
it is, and I'm also getting into learning how to purify water because I've got lakes, I've got ocean, I've got so I've got salt water, I've got fresh water, but obviously it's not clean. So I know that if I run out of
Right.
water somehow, I'm learning how do I clean it, how do I filter it, what can I do with salt water to get the salt out, how do I boil it because I think that's important in case I have to go collect some water.
Right. And that's also something you could even barter with her on too.
Right.
So I mean, if you had clean water for people, I mean, you're going to be popular. There's no doubt about that.
Oh
I
yeah.
I honestly think that when everything does crash, I think it's going to be a very two-class system. That's what I think, and I think it's going to come down to those that have precious metals on any level and those don't. And if you're in those that don't have precious crowd, you're going to be a hurting unit. It's going to suck for you. There's not about it. But I think even a small stack of even silver, just 25, 50, 100 is a small stack, is going to be light years ahead of the average bear. And right now, the price of silver is about $20. You can buy silver eagles for around $20 or so a piece. And if you can afford to buy a few, you should definitely be doing that.
I agree with you, and I'm going to get on that because I'm lacking in that area. So I'm going to be a hurting unit if I don't.
Yes, you will be a hurting unit, and you don't want to be that because I think I honestly think now I came up with this yesterday. Now you kind of check out this one. Think of my theories. Right, I talked to Jeff about this, and he thought that I was onto something here. Again, I like to look at the practical standpoint of things, and Satan is one smart guy, and he's also very capable of tricking people into things. He can really trick people. I mean, everybody thinks up in a red suit and a pitchfork. I mean, how stupid is that?
Right.
Okay. And anyway, my point is that a lot of people think that this time it'd be so difficult, and I think it might actually be easier for the people that have precious metals because a lot of Shepherd's Chapel students are going to have precious metals. Okay, now just follow me on this for a second. I think that what that he is to try to, let's say everything crashes and the system is something like this where you can take your precious metals and um, go to the bank and kind of cash them in, get that new debit card or whatever it is it's going to be. It might even be your existing debit card, but it's just you cashed in some silver and now you're going to get X number of credits for it.
Right.
I kind of think and that because that's basically what they're going to do. They're going to have the banks involved because the banks will, whenever there's money involved, the banks are going to be involved. So I don't think that's a stretch. Now, I think at that point, if you're cashing in some gold or silver, either one, I think Satan is going to turn on the VIP treatment for everyone. That's what I think. I think he's going to try to throw us a curveball. Even before he's here, this is what I'm talking about the first 2.5 months. He could try to throw us a little curveball. Because think about it, a lot of people that kind of come into sudden money, like if you have a winning lottery ticket or these athletes that are from the housing projects and get that $100 million contract,
Right.
They blow their money. They're stupid with it. And I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not guaranteeing this. I don't really have any biblical, backup on this. But this is my practical common sense thing. It would make sense that he would kind of have things going really good for us because guess what? He's going to have a hard time to convince us to worship him.
Right.
So he's going into a game where we are the real prize. And if we're the real prize, he's going to want to do everything he can to get us in the frame of mind where maybe he can get us to get a little full of ourselves and a little bit of pride, like, oh, hey, I got all this money. I can afford a Cadillac. Look at me, and start thinking like a little bit because
Amen.
That might make his job a little bit easier.
You're right.
That's what I think.
You're right. You are absolutely right.
Yeah.
And he's so conceited that he thinks that he's going to get the elect.
Right. He thinks he's going to be able to do it. But he also knows that the odds are 1,000,000,000 to 1. But wouldn't it make a lot more sense to throw everybody a curveball and make everybody a lottery winner? Wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
I mean, I don't have any biblical basis for this, but this is kind of my theory. That I came up with the other day kind of popped in my head. I thought, you know what? If you're torturing everybody, if you take all the money away from everybody, like even the elector, you take all the money away, take their food away, have them hide in a cave with a case of water and a couple of cans of beans, and then you say, oh, by the way, I want you to worship me. It's like, this is going to be a middle finger convention.
Well, you're right, and that's why that's why Pastor Murray said when he comes, it's peacefully and prosperously, and he's going to put a chicken in every pot if you follow him.
Right, exactly. And the people that have no precious metals at that time, which will probably be 97 to 99% of the population, they are going to have to do that to survive. They will. I think they're going to get some kind of universal basic income or something of that nature.
Yep.
To kind of keep them happy. That'd be my guess. But I think those of us that might have precious metals at that time, I think he's going to want to make us as rich as possible, just to try to get our thinking different. Like, oh, all these other people are so poor, and look at me, I got all this money. Oh, I'm important now. You see, it's easy to start playing that game, trying to work on your psyche.
Which he does.
Yeah, that'd be right his alley. That's why I think this is because this is the kind of move he would make because nobody's expecting this to happen. They're expecting doom and gloom. They're not expecting a winning lottery ticket.
Right, and that's what's coming.
Yeah, Yeah. So again, I don't have any biblical backing for that, but just like the Murrays think that this last generation is here because they were the third of heaven that followed Satan at that time, which, judging by the evidence, I think they've got a pretty solid point. And that's how my theory is too. It's just based on common sense. And what would you do if you were Satan in that kind of category? Having people mad at you isn't going to help you.
No. He wants everybody to love him, so he's going to perform those miracles, and he's going to do everything he possibly can, just like Jesus did and would, because he's a bad imitation. He's a copycat. He's going to do everything that Jesus would do.
Yeah, exactly. And so, really, when you think about it, he has to play the good guy all the time. He really can't be seen as an enforcer or as a bad guy. He just can't do it. It's incompatible. So otherwise, the stereotype that he's playing off of isn't going to work for him. If all of a sudden he says, well, how come all these people over here, you took all their money away? Why'd you do that? Well, what's your answer to that? All of a sudden, you don't look so good. You're blowing your cover.
Right. So do you think for those people who aren't prepared and maybe might be hungry, God's going to take care of?
I think to a degree. I think it's going to be a much rougher ride if they don't do it that way. I mean, it's not that hard to do. Like you said, like rice and some precious metals, especially the prices they are right now. I wouldn't wait much longer because the price of precious metals can go through the roof at any point. So don't waste a lot of time on that.
Right.
Don't waste a lot of time. I mean, get to it. That's my advice to you on that is make it happen as fast as you can.
Boy, see, and we're back to that again. Time is short. We're feeling it. The economy's feeling it. The world's feeling it. And that's why I'm just saying this could be a lot sooner than a lot of us think.
Well, I can tell you right now, you see, the reason that everything went bad in 2008 is that the liquidity between the banks dried up overnight. What happened was, now this is a little complicated here, but I'm going to try to make it easy for you, okay?
Good.
When they do these repo loans, you're going to hear a lot of the term repo a lot in the news right now. It's called repo. We're not talking about repossessing somebody's car here. These repo loans are loans that banks make between each other overnight. Wells Fargo calls up Chase and says, "Hey Jamie, I need $25 billion for tomorrow," and says, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll do that." And then Wells Fargo will say, "Okay, we're going to put up such and such as collateral, like treasuries, or like before they were using those collateralized debt obligations, which were the mortgages that were bad. Right. They were using that to exchange between each other. Well, what happened was they said, I don't want that stuff anymore. That's worthless. And all of a sudden, all the lending just dried up overnight. That's what caused the 2008 crash in a nutshell. The same thing is happening right now. They're putting in massive amounts of money because there's not enough money to go around. That's what's happening. And so this is not a good thing to do. This is a serious red flag event. And you want to follow this very carefully because this could be the key that could bring everything down.
Wow. That's it in a nutshell right there.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely time to get moving, do what we can very quickly, keeping our eyes open and watching the financials and Jerusalem, because that's our barometer. And like we were talking about earlier, I'm really interested to see what this 70 Nations meeting is going to be, because I think this is going to be huge. Oh,
I do too. I think it's going to be a huge event no matter what. And I think this is the pre-New World Order, New World Order. That's
I agree.
What I think.
I agree, and I think many people agree with that also. Well, the ones who know the truth anyways.
Yes, the better informed ones. The average idiot on the street is like, how do the Patriots do this weekend? That's what they're thinking about.
Right.
And they're not thinking about these things at all. I mean, like I follow some football too and have fun with that just to, have a little distraction once in a while. But
it's not our main focus.
it's not our main focus. I'm not going to be able to tell you who's on a different team each year and all that kind of stuff. I don't care. I just want to watch an entertaining game, and then I go back to doing what I'm doing. So that's how I play it. But yeah, you are right, and I just feel like there's so much going on, and all of a sudden the liquidity dries up overnight, because that's basically what happened in 2008. It just dried up overnight, and they had this major catastrophe going on, and they didn't know what to do. Also, too, the Fed is jumping in and buying a minimum with no cap of $30 billion worth of assets every day, such as treasuries, stocks and bonds, anything that they might have to, that there's no buyers for because there's counterparty risks. If I want to sell a stock of mine, if I say I have 1,000 shares of something, I want to sell it, I have to find someone else who wants to buy it. That's called counterparty risk. And at some point, the counterparty risk becomes so high that nobody wants to deal with you. Oh, I don't want that stuff. That's worthless. And you end up holding the bag at the end, and you're the sucker that loses out big time. There's going to be a lot of that going on here pretty soon.
Probably sooner than most know.
Yes, and that's why gold and silver are so valuable, and other products too. I mean, other commodities that you can think of are so valuable, because at that point, those things will be the things that people are going to want and trade for. So anything that you have is good. I mean, you could be in a seriously good situation there if you have commodities and some gold and silver at that time, or just silver. That's fine too.
Right. And I believe that if some of us aren't able to obtain that silver, I think that at least if I have, because I'm able to get commodities, I'm able to do these things, that I still might be okay, because if I don't have something, I have extra commodities to trade for.
Yes, you have extra commodities, and that's always going to be a good thing, especially like the more personal items. I think those could be very, very high demand items. In fact, I've even thought about buying some of those kind of products too, and just having extra ones on hand myself, just to wheel and deal, because like a lot of the feminine products and that, I mean, you got 40% of the population that needs them.
I'm going to go out tomorrow and buy 4,000 tampons. They're going to say, this lady has got issues. I'm going to say, don't mess with me.
Yeah, they'll believe you too.
But you're right, and you got to think about these things. And I'm being serious. I'm going to start stocking up on these things that are going to be, that people don't have a choice. They have to have it.
Oh, yeah. No kidding. I mean, now you're talking 40% of the population that needs these things all the time. And I'm almost tempted to get in that kind of game myself, because what a guaranteed sell, and right now you can buy these things at a relatively decent price, especially at like a Costco or a Sam's Club, and then hang on to them for a while, wait for the price of them to double or triple or even worse, or there's just none available, and then you can almost name your price at that time, which it wouldn't take long for that to empty out, and then it's name your own price because of supply and demand, and you got it made. You got your own business right there.
Well, and another thing you can think of too is diapers for young and old. That's going to be a big commodity also.
Oh yes, huge. Those things are huge. I kind of like to stay away from things like baby food and things like that. I mean, they're good ideas, but I wouldn't go too heavy into them, because you are dealing with some expiration dates on that kind of stuff.
Right. I definitely wouldn't buy that, but diapers I think would just be just as big of a thing to do, because I guess you could use cloth, and you could use that in any instance if you had to, but people aren't going to be doing that, because we're already going to be having a hard time. So when you got personal products, you've got soaps, shampoos, toothpaste, toothbrushes, just, those care packages that they send to the army, stuff like that's going to be very high valued.
Oh, extremely high value. Again, supply and demand rules everything at the end of the day. So if you've got products that people want, I mean, I even bought a few over at, I think it was at Sam's Club. I bought some 4-pound boxes of salt. Just 4-pound boxes. They're under $1 a piece. $1. Okay. Guess who's going to want to fill up their salt shaker sooner or later? A lot of people. And now you got something to trade with that you can. Okay, well, what you got to trade? and now you got something. You see, so there's a lot of different angles to this game.
Right, and that could be your gold right there. Salt, herbs, personal products,
Yeah.
stuff like that. You know, you may
Oh
not
yeah.
have any gold in your pocket like I don't, but I will have those commodities will make it feel like I have gold.
Exactly. I mean, I think the only advantage to having the silver or gold, is that when the reset happens, those people are going to move to the front of the line. They're going to move to the front of the line all the way, because you have to remember that even though you can trade and barter and all those things for them, if you're good at bartering, you can do well with that. But you have to remember later on, you won't have any real money to work with. It's going to be tough. So even if you have just a small amount, even just a few ounces of silver, like put $200 into some silver and get 10 ounces, you're going to be seriously ahead of anybody that doesn't have that. So, I
Right.
mean, even just a small amount is good.
I'm going to try to do that, but I think I'm pretty used to being in the back of the bus.
Well, why don't you get up in the front? Why don't you get in the back of the limo with me instead?
Right. Is it better back there? You got anything to drink?
Yeah, we got a full bar back here.
There you go. Well, I'm definitely going to be looking into seeing what I can do about that. Times have been pretty hard since Hurricane Harvey hit. My family, we lost everything we had, and I wasn't prepared for it. We had just moved back to Texas into the Houston area. I didn't know Hurricane Harvey was even coming. I wasn't looking on the news. I wasn't, and it just hit. Somebody says, "Well, you know, there's a hurricane coming tomorrow." I said, "What do you mean a hurricane coming tomorrow?" They said, you better like look." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" It was too late. By the time I got off work and went to the
Yeah,
store, the shelves were empty. There was no water, no food, barely anything. I did get lucky and get Gatorade and some nuts and raisins and stuff like that.
right. Yeah, I know, and that's the whole advantage of being prepared ahead of time. Now, you don't need to be like these preppers that they show on TV that have a 50-year supply of food and crazy stuff like that. You don't need to do that. We know that. Okay, but just be reasonable about it. Have a 6 month supply of food. That's probably all you're really going to need at the end anyway. So
Right,
maybe a 6 months to a year supply.
right, because that way you have
Uh,
your supply plus trading supply.
exactly. And like even when you're trading with people, it's best to deal with people that you know, that you can trust. You don't want to just put an ad on Craigslist saying you got something, and then
No, you're going to
have
get
somebody
robbed.
show up. Yeah, you want to be careful there. But if you can start, what you really have to do. And this sounds really crazy, but a lot of stuff that we say does sound crazy. If you're going to do like the bartering thing, or you got the extra products like diapers and all that, you almost have to kind of set it up like almost like a drug dealer type of network. And because that's the kind of thing that works.
I could
I
go
mean, obviously you're
gangsta.
dealing, yeah, go gangster on that. And I think that business model works in that situation. Obviously, you're selling legal products, so you don't have to worry about going to jail for diapers. But I think that kind of business model is almost perfect in that situation.
Right, I'll just have to get a little hood and get out there and deal my tampons. It'll work.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It might be a lot of things to do
Well,
that.
this is going to be rough, and you know it, I know it, the rest of us know it, and the more prepared we are, the better. But it's gonna be rough regardless. Why make it any rougher? But this is going to be very hard times.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be hard times for a lot of people, and I think it's going to be, in some respects, I think like for like Jeff and I think it's going to be a real challenge, because guess what? When people run out of things, and they see people like myself or Jeff walk into a store and just kind of buy a few things that because we can afford to do it, I think that there's going to be people around that are going to notice that, especially maybe some young women. They might get a little friendly, things like that, because they've got nothing. They're trying to get friendly to get what they need.
Right.
Um, I'm that things happen. You're going to deal with groupie type experiences. Fortunately, I played in bands years ago, so I know what that's all about. And I can handle that a little bit better. But I mean, you got to get ready for almost anything to happen. If you got something, there's going to be people who are going to try to, be interested in getting some of it.
Right, and they do that these days anyways. That's why I am more of a. I don't have very many friends. Olive Branch is my bestie out there, and I love her dearly. But I don't associate with a lot of people because they've used me so much. If I had it, my heart's so big, I gave it.
Yeah, yeah, and that can get you into a lot of trouble.
Boy,
It really
howdy.
can.
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's
it
just my
does, and
nature, though. That's just how my heart works. It's like I don't like to see suffering. I don't like to see somebody without. And if I have extra, it was just I just sometimes couldn't help it.
right. I can understand that. I mean, we do want to help, and I enjoy helping a lot of people on Facebook. There are some people, I'm not going to mention names, but there are some people that have kind of caught on that, I know a little bit about finance, and they ask me questions about things, and I try to explain it the best I can. Hopefully, that they, in terms they can understand, and make better decisions. And it makes me feel good when I can help them out that way. And I like to see that they're getting into it a little bit more, because that's the whole thing. We got to be ready and into it.
I would really find it a blessing, and I know others would too.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll send you a personal message, a private message on Facebook when I talk to Jeff, and then we'll kind of start filling things out a little bit.
That would be awesome. And thank you for coming in here tonight and bringing us your knowledge. And iron sharpens iron. I have just enjoyed this immensely, and I hope you continue to come back and chat when you see. I'm going to try to get on here every night. And anytime you need or want, I mean, pop in, please, because you have been a blessing tonight.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, and that means a lot coming from another Shepherd's Chapel student. That's a very big compliment.
It is, and we're the body of Christ, and we got to act like it, and we have to help each other out because not all of us can see all of the views at one time because this is a pretty large picture to fit all into one one area here. So it takes all of us to be able to keep us all going down the right path and watching out and sounding that alarm and keeping us on the straight and narrow so that we make it through this.
Oh yes, and I think we will. I think we'll. I think it's. I think afterwards, when we look back at this years from now, I think we're going to be so glad that we did this and we did it the way we did.
I agree. I agree. I don't think we
You know.
have years. I think we've got less than that, but that's just my opinion.
No, I'm saying years into the future from now, when we
Oh,
look back at
yeah.
this, like what we did. Remember when things got close and we felt it was close, and then it was. I think
Yep,
when we had that conversation later on,
yep.
I think we're going to all say that, yeah, we put it together.
That's
I think
right.
that's what we're saying.
That's right. And hopefully soon we'll all be. I'm hoping. I'm not saying I am, but I sure hope I'm one of the ones that get delivered to Lucifer because I'm ready to bust his behind.
Oh yeah, me too. And I think the ones that are a little more active and maybe a little bit more forward on some of this stuff, I think are a little bit more likely to be there. But you never know. It could be a whole variety of people. But if you notice, most of the people, when you see their comments on Facebook, they've got their act together. Most of them seem to have their act together.
Right.
And I feel pretty confident with that bunch.
And it seems like we're all gnawing at the bit for this, and just as the Bible says, we're ready to do our job, and we're gnawing, we're praying, Lord God, bring this. It's we how long's it going to be? We're ready to do our job, and our souls are gnawing at the bit. I know that's how I feel.
Oh, I think all of us do. I feel that way too. I just want to get this over with because we know on the other side, like when we get in the millennium time, it's going to be so much nicer, and we won't have to deal with a lot of this idiotic, stuff today. I mean, I saw somebody, one of these. Remember that climate protest thing they had going on here a little while ago, a couple of days ago?
Yeah.
All those young kids. I actually saw a video of this one young girl, about 18 years old, stands up to the microphone. She goes, "My name is blah blah blah,"
Greta.
and she goes, "And my pronouns are her, well, the she, her, and hers." It's like, what are these
She's
people talking
she says,
about?
"You stole my childhood on your fake promises. How dare you?" I actually made a video, if you look through my videos on my channel, and I have commentary to Miss Greta's video, and it's kind of funny, but I felt actually really sad that the system, and that's one of Lucifer's dynasties, the educational system has made and she
Yeah,
was actually 16 years old, has made them so fearful. She says people are dying everywhere, our ecosystems are crashing, people are dying. I'm like, where? Because I don't see that.
yeah, where? Show me the coffins.
Right, and she was acting
Well,
like this was on a global scale.
yeah. Well, really, all that they've done here, this is what the Kenites have done. What they've done is they've basically taken Hitler Youth and brought it into a different dimension. Is what they've done.
Yeah.
They've just changed the subject. Okay, instead of the Third Reich being the subject, global warming is the subject.
Well,
That's all they've done. They just switched the subjects on it.
do you remember when the survivors, because I watched this a lot, I actually, in 8th grade, I went to a private school. We took a trip to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. I bawled my eyes out through that whole thing. It was horrifying. And ever since then, I watch Holocaust, I listen to the survivors, and they say it will repeat.
Right.
It is repeating, and the Bible
Yeah.
proves history always repeats itself, and that's what's happening. They're like, don't you stand there and think that this won't happen to you. Listen to what I'm saying. It's happening.
Exactly. And like I said, with the Hitler Youth thing, all they've done is just change the subject to global warming or the climate change.
Right.
And instead of hatred of Jews, what it is, it's hatred of climate deniers. It's the exact same treatment.
Right.
Nothing's really changed. There's nothing new here. It's the same tactics, just different subject and different hate group. That's all.
Right. And I think that maybe, and I think this was actually proven, that the whole Hitler thing was a test, and it failed miserably, but it was a test for end times.
You know, that's a good point. You know, I think that especially now what we're seeing with the climate change crowd and how they operate, and look at the Antifa people. They act exactly like the brown shirts.
Oh my God.
And they're saying that they're anti-fascist, but they do the exact same things as the brown shirts did.
Yeah. Nothing new under the sun.
Nothing new under the sun at all.
And it's a scary
well,
thing.
hey, it's been great.
But at least we know who wins in the end, and we win with God, so it's going to be okay.
Yes, that is the reason. This battle wouldn't be worth it if it wasn't for that. That's for sure.
Amen to that. And I look forward to hearing from you again. And pop on anytime you want. And again, you are a blessing. And thank you so much. And God bless. Thank you for coming on and sharing your knowledge tonight.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been great, Amber. See you later.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, bye.
All right. So, this has been an extremely educational show tonight. I thank you for being here with us. This was amazing. I think I just want to recap real quick that we do need to make sure that we do have preparations in place. You heard what we were talking about. You heard the reasoning. End times are going to be hard, and it doesn't hurt and it doesn't cost a lot to make sure you have those commodities on hand. You have enough food, water. Like we said, top ramen's cheap, oatmeal's cheap. Things like rice, beans, you can get at Costco. Heck, even Walmart, okay? If you can't get into Costco, Walmart has beans for very cheap, oatmeal, things like that. Because at least we'll be eating. We'll have things to trade with. These are very important things. And I remember Pastor Murray saying you do need to prep and you do need to have at least a month's worth. But go ahead and have 2 or 3 if you can, because then you'll have something to trade with. I think these things are very important. And if you can, get some silver. I think that was very, very, very good advice. And wow, I feel the Holy Spirit was here. I am just elated right now. And I'm going to come back on tomorrow and do another current news, chit chat. You know, we can take this anytime anybody comes in here, we can take it wherever you want to go. Iron sharpens iron. The body of Christ is important. We're important to each other, and we need to support and love one another so we can make it through this. We're going to make it through it. But let's make it easier on each other and sharpen each other's swords. Show that love, and let's get down to business, because Lucifer, we're getting ready to come bruise your head, and I'm excited for it. I feel it in my body and in my soul. Anyways, thank you all for coming in here tonight. Olive Branch, I love you, girl. And I'm going to go ahead and end this stream, and I will see you all tomorrow. I love you all. Good night, and God bless.